Hello, friend, and welcome to Inside the Dark. Thank you for joining me.
This case is one of the most horrific cases I ever heard.
A 13-year-old girl was reported missing on March 18th of 2025 in Toledo, Ohio. After her father told the media she called him the night she disappeared and told him she was scared because she was home alone at her grandmother's house where she lived, and she thought somebody was trying to break in. 33-year-old Darnell Jones said he went to his daughter Kamani Latigue's house with his cousin and stayed there with 13-year-old Kamani to make sure everything was okay. Then, he and his cousin left her home around 12:30 a.m., and when Kamani's grandmother got home from work, Kamani was gone.
I came over here because she said that if it seemed like somebody was trying to break into the house.
After Kimani's disappearance Sunday, March 16th.
Me and my cousin, we sat over here and we left around like 12:30ish.
A heart-wrenching search for Kamani went on for days following her disappearance, with family, friends, and hundreds of volunteers coming together to find her.
Throughout here.
The group spent the weekend alongside Kamani's mother looking for any signs of the 13-year-old girl.
Honestly, this is breaking me. I've been falling the apart since I found out. I've legitimately been on social media since the minute I found out, spreading awareness, sending out flyers, contact information, anything to get my baby home. I have not slept in 3 days. I have not ate in 3 days.
We need all the support we can get from anybody. We don't care who it is. Please just come out and help us find my niece.
Then, the unthinkable. Police named Kamani's father, Darnell Jones, as a suspect in her disappearance, saying he was the last person to have seen her, and saying he gave a number of inconsistent statements about what occurred the night Kamani went missing.
The next day, Sunday, March 23rd, a felony abduction charge filed against Darnell Jones. Jones is Kamani's dad, and court records show he was the last person with her before she went missing.
This man has been to my house several times. He usually takes her for weekends to his house to visit with him and his other children. And I feel deceived. Like, you played for so long in my face, like you was her dad, like you really had her best interests at heart. But where is she?
If my baby don't make it home, I will never be okay again. And I hate to say that because I have other kids.
But when police went to find Kamani's dad, he had already fled. Then, on March 24th, a week after her disappearance, Kamani's family received the worst news possible. Her body was found in a burned-out house in Toledo. She had been SA'd. Her throat was cut, and her hands had been cut off.
Police pulled a body from a home on Miami Street in East Toledo. A body Kamani's grandmother says is the missing 13-year-old girl. Darnell Jones reportedly told police he saw his daughter late Sunday night. He claims she called and said she was afraid someone was trying to break into her grandmother's home. Jones says he and a cousin allegedly stayed with her for about an hour and left around 12:30 a.m. Police now say he gave inconsistent statements about being with Kamani that night. Once again, he is now charged with murder and abduction.
It was just after 3 o'clock this afternoon when police pulled Kamani's body from a burned home on Miami Street in East Toledo. That house is at 1101, the corner of Miami and Wilmot, almost directly behind the Glass City Riverwall, and less than 4 miles from where Kamani was last seen alive at her home in the 2900 block of Elm Street. The house where she was found in East Toledo was boarded up and had been on fire at least 2 times in the past few years. The most recent, July 14th, 2022, just a few months ago before that, in May of 2022.
Baby is in that house, and my baby is deceased. I cannot wait to see it's done.
For days, Tiara Caston, the mother of 13-year-old Kamani Lateeg, searched and searched, hoping to find her little girl. Caston says she last saw her on March 15th.
We played video games. We played. We talk mess. You know, that's what we do. We roast each other, all types of stuff. But it's all love.
Kamani was reported missing on March 18th from the 2900 block of Elm Street in North Toledo, according to Toledo police. Since then, family, friends, and community members spent days looking. But Monday, police say they found a body in this abandoned house in East Toledo. That was around 1:30 in the afternoon. And hours later, the Lucas County coroner confirmed it was indeed Kamani. Outside the East Toledo house, community members showed love to Kamani. A vigil took place, and one woman even left a plot of flowers and a note, telling WTOL 11 she felt the need to honor her memory and to show the city she was loved.
Kamani's father was tracked to Columbus, Ohio, where police say SWAT tracked him for 2 days before they tried to arrest him, and he fired on officers. They returned fire, and he was hit multiple times and taken to the hospital for treatment.
All right, Kaylee, thank you. We continue to follow the latest in the death of 13-year-old Kimani Lateeg. Right now, her father, who's accused of murdering her, is recovering in a Columbus hospital. Officers there say SWAT had been following Darnell Jones for at least 2 days. They confirmed Jones had a weapon when they made contact with him. One person told our sister station in Columbus they heard at least 5 or 6 gunshots. Officers confirmed Jones was hit at least once and there were no other injuries. He was due for an arraignment this morning, but it was delayed because he's still in the hospital. No word yet on when he'll be extradited back to Toledo. The Lucas County Coroner's Office is ruling Kimani's death a homicide. Autopsy results for the 13-year-old show she died from multiple cuts to her neck. And just a heads up, you might see a GoFundMe for this too, but Kimani's family tells us they aren't endorsing any GoFundMe pages.
I received a call we never want to get. One of our officers was involved in a police-involved shooting. Immediately went to scene to speak to our officer, one of our SWAT officers, a dedicated officer, highly trained, as you know, our Special Operations Bureau, longtime member. He's okay. Thank God he's okay. When I heard about this case, this was an individual wanted for homicide out of Toledo. I called my union counterpart in Toledo. I said, hey, good news, we have your guy. Your guy committed a murder, chose to fled to our town. I'll tell you right now, the wrong town to come to if you murder somebody. Our SWAT team will go out looking for you. This case is one of the most horrific cases I ever heard. This is a 14-year-old that was murdered, had her hands cut off, and her throat almost cut off. This is an absolute animal that came into our town. I understand some of your editors won't let you print the word animal or view the word animal. If people are more offended to how I'm describing him, how he treated that girl, that's on them, not on me. Again, I'm glad our officers are okay. Our SWAT are the best of the best. We just sent a message. You murder somebody, do not come to this town. I'll answer any questions.
Left a little speechless. Do you know anything about what led up to the shooting?
I know they were looking for him. I worked the street yesterday, and there was a bolo put out yesterday about this, so it was on everybody's mind. The officers are circulating an area, patrol detectives, they're looking for this individual. This is what SWAT does. SWAT goes out there. Some of them have uniforms, some are in plain clothes, in plain cars. And it's my understanding that they had a location on this suspect vehicle, and they did what they do. They circulated the area, they saturated the area of the short north, and one of the SWAT officers did find them. There was a confrontation. The individual had a gun. You pull a gun on his officers. We've said many times, this is the outcome you could expect. The officers shot him. It's my understanding he is in a local hospital right now.
Did he fire back?
I do not know if he fired back. I just know a gun was recovered from the scene.
Brian, can you talk about, you mentioned how dangerous this suspect was, how relieved you are that none of your officers or any of the nearby neighbors
100%.
were injured given what it could have been?
It's my understanding this individual might have been walking around the short north area all night. You got not just a murderer, a violent murderer, a sadistic murderer in our neighborhoods is appalling. Again, thankful for the men and women of the Division of Police, our members, for going out there every day, finding these individuals and removing them from our street. I'm so glad nobody else was hurt.
So my first question for you, Chief Trinley, there's been a lot, so let's kind of do like a timeline, and let's start with first question. Let's go back to when Kimani was first reported missing. There was a report sent out, but Is there a reason why there wasn't an Amber Alert? That's a lot of people's question.
Yeah, so when she first went missing, our Amber Alert requires specific criteria when and how we do our Amber Alerts. And that's kind of like a national standard. And so it did not meet that criteria because at that point there was not any thought of there was a family kidnapping or family being involved or any foul play at that point. At this point, we had a lot of different stories about a missing 13-year-old that may or may not have ran away for different reasons. So at that time, we'd already interviewed all the family members and we were talking to everybody. So there was nothing that would have qualified for an Amber Alert or that actually an Amber Alert would have done for the investigation.
What is the usual criteria for an Amber Alert, just so people know?
Yeah, so there's different things, but a lot of times, especially when it involves a family member, we need to have that we suspect a family member has kidnapped them and has run off with them, that we have descriptions of cars or locations and stuff like that, something that we can provide. And for this type of case, it just did not meet that criteria.
Now, my second question for you, TPD received a tip, you guys received a tip about the body that was found in that house. That's how you guys first found out about it being there, correct?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, actually. Which tip?
You guys received about the body being found on Miami Street in the house. Was there a phone call or anything, or Crime Stoppers? Was there anything sent out? How did you guys find out about the body inside the house?
Through detective work, really. So, so through some interviews and some investigating. At this time, I can't disclose why or how, because it's still very pertinent to the investigation. And at this point, we're not ready to talk about that aspect of it. But yes, it was our detectives doing a great job interviewing and investigating and following up on some leads that got us to that location.
Now, moving on to Darnell Jones, he's in the hospital currently, and that's where we're kind of at with that situation. But I know that yesterday you mentioned in an interview that you guys sent detectives down there for questioning. Has he confessed to anything? Has he confessed previously before then? What are you guys getting?
So we did send detectives down and interviewed him in his hospital room. We made progress there. So we have some things that we're going through at this point. Once we get all the information that he provided, that we've gathered, we'll meet with the prosecutors. We'll walk through that timeline with the prosecutors and decide with their guidance on the charges that will be filed. And then at that point, we'll talk about what charges are going to be out there. We'll release that information. But right now, we did talk to him. We are moving forward. I would say we're in a pretty good spot investigatively anyways on moving forward with this case.
Speaking of charges, on Monday, we read in a report that he was charged with third-degree felony of abduction. At this point, what charges are we still looking at? Do you happen to know? Is that charge still there, and is a murder charge as well?
So, as my understanding right now is the murder charge is added and the abduction charge is still there, but that's right now, those are the only charges that are out there. Obviously, as we work through all of the statements and all the leads that we have now, there may be additional charges.
Do you believe that Darnell acted alone, or is at the time right now, are you guys considering other suspects, or is there other people you guys are looking at?
We're always looking at the chance that there might be multiple people involved. I don't necessarily believe that or disbelieve that that's the case right now, but that is something that we will continue to run down through the investigations. There are statements that always conflict each other, and there's always kinds of things that need to be tied up in an investigation, and that's the phase we're in right now. So right now, we only have one person charged.
I know why you guys can't say what he told detectives yet. There was a lot of talk earlier about his statements not matching, which was said in a police report. There were a lot of inconsistent statements and stuff. The statement that he's given now, is it a bit clearer? You don't have to say the details of that. I know you guys are still working, but is it clearer?
I think we have a much better understanding of what happened. By far a lot more understanding after we talked to him. But at that point, that's about as much detail as I can give you on our conversation with him.
I think my last question for you here is, the officers who responded to the scene and found the body, from what we've learned of the details, it might be a lot. And when we hear of cases like this of children involving children and children on the scene, that can be a lot to take in. Is there anything that you are doing for the officers right now to help them get through that, who were there on that scene?
We are. So over the last several years, we've really developed a wellness program that is kind of top notch. And we immediately have our peer support officers reaching out to those officers. Sometimes, depending on the situation, we'll do debriefings and bring in professionals to come talk. Our wellness coordinator, Sergeant Welling, is always contacting them and offering up services and to see if there's anything we can do. As an officer, we all deal with trauma in different ways. Some people like to talk, some people don't. But we're always looking out for those warning signs to make sure that we don't need to intervene.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to include at this time that you would like to mention about this case that I did not ask? Now's the time.
So the only thing I would add is, I'm extremely proud of our department. This case moved pretty quickly, and we were able to develop information and leads, and as sad as it is, recover her and bring some closure to the family, to the community. There's nothing worse than a missing that's still missing, and there's that hope out there. So I think our officers did an outstanding job. And I'll say it again, I think the Columbus officers, when we contacted them, asked for assistance, they did an outstanding job as well. And, we have two good police departments that are coordinating and communicating and working together to get to a conclusion, at least on this case.
There are many questions surrounding what went on in Kimani's home environment. And even though her grandmother says there was never any abuse done to Kimani, friends and even a teacher at her school said that may not be true.
In her short 13 years, Kimani was enrolled in 6 different schools, and tonight we're hearing from some of the people from those schools who say she came to school with potential signs of abuse.
Michael Sandlin joins us. Michael, what did they have to say to you?
Well, Kaylee, Jeff, they say they tried to sound the alarm and it fell on deaf ears. I spoke to a classmate of Kimani's who says she tried to tell a teacher, and I spoke to a teacher who says she tried to tell CSB. In both instances, the person they tried to help is now gone.
She came to school with bruises on her arms.
That's 7th grader Imani Fisher, a classmate of Kimani's from her most recent school, Spring Elementary. Fisher says she would often see Kimani come into class with visible markings, so she and other students decided to say something to a teacher.
And she said she would deal with it, but I don't think nothing happened.
TPS representatives say they have no records of abuse against Kimani to either CSB or TPD. But it's also not the first time someone has raised concerns about what was going on inside Latig's home. Kayleen Harabedian was her 6th grade English teacher at Bennett Venture Academy, the last school she attended before spring. Harabedian says she also spotted visible markings and bruises on Kimani.
It's hard because especially in a role like education, your day doesn't end at 3:30. You take these things home with you. They weigh on you. I'm a parent myself, and I tried my best to make sure that she was removed from that environment.
Harabedian claims she put in multiple calls to CSB. Kimani's grandmother and legal guardian Dorothy Latig says they did come knocking on her door, but she denies there was any abuse in the home.
I've went through this twice because the school system had contacted CSB on her behalf when she went to Bennett Academy. And they came in, they did a case study and closed it. They've stated there's a way to chastise children without physically harming them, and you need to whoop them on their behind, nowhere else. So, okay, with that in mind, I knew that.
It's important to note Dorothy Latig is currently not charged with any crime, and Kimani was allowed to continue living with her following the alleged CSB check-in.
It just fell on deaf ears, and I think that had she been investigated more, this was looked more into, she would 100% be alive today.
Wednesday morning, a new piece of graffiti has been sprayed on the burned-out home where Kimani's body was found. CSB, where's your accountability?
But her grandmother insists that CPS did a thorough investigation of Kimani's home environment and never found a reason to continue their investigation. Here are interviews with Kimani's grandmother and aunt after precious Kimani's body was found.
And just a short time ago, our Silver Barker exclusively interviewed Kimani's grandmother and legal guardian, and then Kimani's aunt. Here's what they both had to say.
So my first question for you, yesterday, lots of things was going on. We want to know specifically at your home, there was a lot of speculation online that you were being arrested, but when we checked with police, that was not the case. So can you further clarify on exactly what did happen yesterday at your home?
Well, I was called and told that there was a mob of people in front of my house. They were angry. It was more or less the people that were here earlier waiting to see if it was Kimani that was in the home. And basically some people from the neighborhood had contacted me and said that there was a mob in front of my house and they were talking about what they were going to do to me once I came home. So the police, the detective, said that she would have a unit come out and help me get my things and more or less escort me off the property. I asked to be handcuffed just so they can get the away from my property.
Are you scared?
So no, I was never arrested. I was taken downtown, but I was never arrested.
Are you scared for your safety right now?
I am.
What are some of the things that you've been hearing and receiving from people?
They said they was going to blow up my house. They said they was going to do harm to me. It's just been a barrage of different things that they've been stating.
And now, yesterday, let's backtrack first for a little bit. So you are the guardian of Kimani, or you were the guardian of Kimani, correct?
I am the legal guardian of Kimani.
Okay. So in terms of taking care of her, when was Kimani placed under your care?
A year ago.
So you take care of her?
She's been in my home for the past 5.5 years, but I just obtained legal custody of her a year ago.
Were you and Kimani close?
We were.
What were some of the things, trying to think of her and paint a memory of her in a good light, right now with everything that's going on, what was Kimani like? Tell me a little bit about how Kimani was in the time that you've got to know her.
Kimani was phenomenal. Kimani was a helper. Like, she was older than what she appeared to be. Like, you know how they say somebody has an old soul? She was that. She loved older music. She loved playing video games. She loved the friends and family that she was allowed to be around. She played basketball for Spring Elementary. She was highly intelligent. So I'd like to clear up the mental issue statements. No, she was not mentally ill in any way. We had her, assessed, and they didn't feel as if anything was wrong with her mentally. So that was not a issue. But back to Kimani, she would, like, say for instance, someone would come over and they had children. They didn't have to worry about their kids because Kimani immediately embraced them and would play with them, kid stuff. She was phenomenal. Like I said, she was like no other kid her age.
What school did Kimani go to?
She went to Spring Elementary.
And we were told that at that time she was doing good in school as well too, correct?
She was. She had brought her grade point average up from a 3.4 to a 3.9. And actually they were going to have an award ceremony for the basketball players today at 5:30, but when I divulged to them that she had passed, they've rescheduled it. She was going to receive her trophy for being, on the team and stuff.
And she has a birthday that's coming up, correct?
Her birthday is Friday.
And she would have been turning 14.
She would have been 14.
Did you have any plans for her birthday?
We were going to have her a large birthday party because it would have been her first birthday where, once again, all of my children were together and could participate in the party. Her mom was supposed to come and everything. So I asked her early on, what type of party do you want? She said she wanted a basketball themed party. So that's what I bought. Things that revolved around her playing basketball. I'm still receiving stuff in the mail for that.
So there's been some confusion now in terms of when it comes to family, who's her biological father, who is her biological mother, and then also was she in the foster care system? Can you clear up a little bit of all of that, you know, when Kimani was placed in your care, you know, when is the LCCS, who exactly did she come from, and how did
She came from her other legal guardian. I choose not to state her name, but she came from her other legal guardian because the other legal guardian and I were best friends. The other legal guardian is my daughter, Kimani's mom, godmother. And we had already discussed early on, because she's been with this person since she was 9 months old. My daughter has never really had custody of Kimani. So she's been with this person since she was 9 months old until, like I said, maybe 5.5 years ago. Now, off and on, this person, we would interact and, you know, do different things with her, for her, or I would contact her and tell her, well, I need this, or Kimani would like that. And she would come by and oblige, and we would commence. It's just too much.
Earlier you mentioned, when you were talking about what Kimani was like, you know, you had mentioned that when family members did come over, who were allowed around her. Can you expand on that? Is there family members that weren't allowed around her?
No, it's just not very many that came around, and those that did, you know, she acted, as far as I'm concerned, she acted accordingly. She embraced all children, bad or good. Okay, next question.
So now we do know that Darnell, you know, people are looking for Darnell Jones right now. The police are looking for Darnell Jones, and there's an arrest warrant out for him. Do you have any idea of his whereabouts?
Oh, well, to my knowledge, he was just arrested in Columbus. He just recently had a shootout with the police in Columbus. They're saying that he confessed to her murder, and no, I take that back. They're saying that he confessed to slitting her throat.
How does it feel to learn that?
I can't even say.
You know, as the police report mentions, Kimani was last seen with Darnell. You know, do you have any regrets of letting Kimani go with, as you're her guardian, do you have any regrets of letting Kimani go with Darnell?
I do, only because, like I said, I feel deceived. I feel like this was pre-planned. I feel like you meant to do this. I feel like you was grooming her.
When you say grooming her, is there things that you saw before this leading up?
No, I never saw anything out the ordinary. But when molesters decide to choose prey, they groom you first. So they give you gifts. They try and make you comfortable with them. They try and say little things to you that you and they can keep secret, and then eventually they pounce. And that's how I feel that how all of this is played out, I feel that's what happened. She was a virgin. She didn't like boys.
There's also comments, and we're just trying to address those and get those addressed, but there's comments online and speculation again that, you know, Kimani, her home situation, she was abused. What do you have to say to that?
Okay, abuse in whose eyes? Because she was not abused. Yes, she was chastised whenever she was wrong or did things wrong. Other than that, she was not abused. She was not just whooped for no reason or just because I felt like it. I've went through this twice because the school system had contacted CSB on her behalf when she went to Bennett Academy. And they came in, they did a case study and closed it. They've stated there's a way to chastise children without physically harming them, and you need to whoop them on their behind, nowhere else. So, okay, with that in mind, I knew that. So she didn't have like bruises all over.
How long ago was that when they came into your home?
I would say the latest, it was approximately 7 months ago.
And so you say the latest. So was it a few times that they came into your
It
home?
was twice total.
So twice total that they came into your home and checked. Okay. And it was all for like you mentioned, what you just said earlier.
Yes.
Explaining. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in terms of, this whole situation, so you were not arrested, correct? And that's
Correct.
what, a lot of people seem to think as they saw you going out in custody. That's what you asked for, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so my first question for you, can you tell me your relation to Dorothy?
I'm Dorothy's second oldest daughter. I'm Kimani's aunt. My name is Sanika. I live in Indianapolis. All this that is going on is devastating. You wouldn't think that, you see it happen around the world, but when it hits close to your heart, you really just be thinking like, did I do something wrong? Did I fail her? She didn't have the life to live that we have got to grow and live. She was only 13. So to know that somebody that I trusted, which was her father, to come through and deceive us just to get to Kimani in some sexual way or a harmful way, that hurts me to the fullest. At the point I feel like I failed her. Me as being her aunt, a person that she could run to and tell anything and everything to. That was my girl, that was my baby. And to hear all of this, to know all of this, and to be going through all this and hearing it for as long as that it went on, it's very devastating. I see so many people that are supposed to be my family that's going against my mom and me for that instance, and saying like, oh, she failed her, she had something to do with it, she had this and that. It doesn't matter at this point. For right now, and until we get justice for Kimani, it's all about Kimani. What I would like to say is there's a lot of people on the internet starting GoFundMes, and that's not what we need right now, because it's not what Kimani needs. The funeral home has objected to say that they're going to come and pay for everything, so there's no need for any GoFundMe pages, any of that. Everything is being taken care of that needs to be taken care of by her family, her immediate family.
Does it upset you that there are GoFundMes? Some of them, I think, in cases might be scams too as well that are going on.
What upsets me is that people are starting these GoFundMe pages and putting Kimani's name underneath it, and they know that it's going to get viewed, and people have sympathy and feel some type of way about that. And some of them can be scams, but I know some of them have come from family members. Just let the immediate family handle that. Like, what y'all gonna do with the money if y'all not turning it into the funeral home? There's no need. Let us handle it. Y'all just sit back and give us the emotional support that we need. That's what we need right now. As a family, as a community, we should all come together and just give each other the emotional support that we honestly need. And that's just what I ask for. For everybody to, calm down, breathe. I know this is a hard time, because it's not just a hard time for y'all. This is a rough time for me. I just need y'all to come together and understand that we need each other as a community, as a family, and emotional support is what we need the most in this situation.
Yesterday the crowd was, if you were here, I'm assuming, the crowd was very upset, lots of emotions going through too, especially at this time with such a sensitive situation. We've heard multiple comments out in the crowd, attacking or pointing fingers at your mom. So, what has it been like trying to get her support system and helping her out?
In a way, you have to be mature enough to decide, am I going to follow along with the crowd, or am I going to, stick around with the loner? I'm to the point where I'm not following nobody. I'm going with what's right. If it was your mother, if it was your niece, would you console your mother? Would you console the person that was closest to her, who lived with her? I'm not out to have a torch and the pitchforks and all out to go against anybody except the person who did this, which I believe was her father, Darnell. I don't have any other anger pushed towards anybody else. I'm angry that this happened, but I'm angry at the person who did this.
Do you know if, have you been in contact with Tiara, the mother?
Yeah, I've been in contact with my sister. It's been briefly. It's been over through text. Like I said, I live in Indianapolis. I seen her yesterday, but that was very brief. It wasn't even more than 5 minutes. It was more or less that she wanted to show me my other niece, Kazaria, which is Kimani's youngest sister. But it wasn't like it was oh, sis, what are we gonna do, any of that. And I don't wish this on nobody. I really don't. I could, your mind go different places when it's a baby. That was a baby. Like I said, I have a very close relationship with Kimani. She was a tomboy. She wasn't out looking for, trying to be fast or, mischievous or any of that. So for her mother to come down and have all this to say and all that, Tierra, where was you for the past 4 years? We haven't seen you since Kimani TikTok party. You haven't called her. You haven't sent her anything. You haven't said, oh, baby, I'm going to come get you for a weekend. We haven't seen you until this happened. Why we got to see you when it's a tragic moment? So, Tierra, where do you stand?
And Tierra lives in Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
And so the past 4 years, you're saying there's very little communication.
Very, very minimum. It wasn't even, she'll call my mom. She'll go through me and say, have you talked to mommy? And I'm like, no, about what? And she'll say, oh, well, she got custody of Kimani and she trying to get child support from me. So it wasn't that Tierra was concerned about Kimani. It was more of the why she want child support from me.
What is the relationship between your mother and your sister, Tierra?
It's very distant. They had their words. They fought. Kimani mother has a godmother that Kimani was with before my mom got her. And there was no communication then from Tierra. I feel like Tierra just let her go. Because any mother would be on her toes to get her children back. That wasn't the case here. It just wasn't.
When was Kimani taken away from Tierra?
I'll say about 7-8 months. And then Tierra godmother stepped in and got custody of Kimani, which would have been around 9 months. Yeah, and Kimani had been with that lady from 9 months all the way up until about, I say, 5.5 years ago. So it wasn't like Tierra was actually in the picture, saying, hey, maybe I can start getting myself together to get my child back so nobody else can get her.
Have you ever worried for Kimani's safety with any of the family members or anyone?
I wouldn't say I was worried because I was here. I was here. Every winter break, spring break, holidays, birthdays, I was here for Kimani. Yes, you come and you enjoy time with your family, but I was here for my niece. I also brought my youngest sister and her 2 kids from Indianapolis to be here for Kimani because we've been in the system before. So I know how it feels to feel like, dang, I'm at somebody's house or not feeling not wanted. I know those feelings. So I tried to give Kimani that at all times because she wanted and loved by her aunts. And this is just devastating that I have to go through this for the rest of my life and knowing I'll never have the embrace of my niece, the hey, TT, what you doing? When you coming down here, I'll never get to hear that from my baby again. And that's what kills me the most. I just wish that when I was down here last, that I had just taken her to Indianapolis with me. So this would have never happened. A lot of things, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but at the end of the day, I just really wish that whatever happened, and whoever did this, y'all didn't have to do that to her. There's plenty of people out here with, grown people that put themselves out there to be, the sex workers or whatever it may be. You didn't have to do this to a child. There was nothing that Kimani would have done to make you hurt her. So, she was a very timid kid. Tomboyish, reserved. She wasn't, loud and out there. So it's just devastating that me and my family have to go through this.
Is there anything else that you would like to add at this time in the interview?
I just want people to understand that family is family, and at the end of the day, don't be so eager to go against your family. Talk to your family and talk to the children. These children may be scared to talk to the parents about things that's going on or what may be going on because they feel like they may get in trouble. But make it known that to your kids that you can talk to me. Make it very open. You can talk to me about any and everything, because that's what these kids need to hear nowadays. Instead of going on social media and talking to somebody over social media about it, like he did this or she may done that. Talk to your family because they can handle. They're the adults that's supposed to handle it. So yeah, and it's forever Kimani.
And to be clear, right now, Darnell Jones has been charged with murder, abduction, and felonious assault.
A vigil was held in Kimani's memory at the home where her body was found, and hundreds of people showed up to let her know she was loved. Friends said she will be remembered for being kind and compassionate, and she was getting ready to be presented with a kindness award at her school. She also had a birthday coming up just days after her body was found. She would have been 14 years old. May precious Kimani Lateague rest in peace.
Today would have been Kimani Lateague's 14th birthday. For those who knew her, today should be a cause for celebration, now only a reminder of pain and loss.
To help her classmates start to heal, the Toledo Buffalo Soldiers are giving her classmates cake and some lunch in her honor. Tatiana Cash has more from the soldiers on why they decided to do something today. So Tatiana, you are live from the house where that memorial has gone up. What are they doing on what would have been her birthday today?
Well, Tim and Kaylee, what they're doing is, making sure that the kids feel loved, feel wanted, feel appreciated. And that's kind of what they were trying to do here, still doing as this vigil continues to grow at where they found 13-year-old Kimani Lateague's body. She is one of the signs saying forever 13 because, again, today would have been her 14th birthday. So you can see all laid around a bunch of birthday cards. There's gifts for her. There's balloons. And it's just so painful to realize that she will never get to see any of this. The Buffalo Soldiers are having a different type of celebration. It's not specifically a birthday, purely just because the birthday parties are supposed to be fun. The guest of honor is there. They say it can't be a birthday party because it just really wouldn't feel right. But to help her classmates kind of get adjusted, because what they say is that those kids have been through a lot there at Spring Elementary. They know what pain is like. So just to give them a bit of a break, give them a sense of peace and a little bit of calm, because this entire week, actually a while, has been very hard for them. And they said they are there for them if any of those students, any of her classmates, really just need to talk.
These kids are dealing with stuff, nightly shootings, gunshots, parents arguing, custody battles, things that we never had to deal with or talk about. And so it is very stressful for them. And this is just a little bit of a break.
So by giving them a break, again, you can just hopefully get a sigh of relief, because this is very heavy things. Death is not an easy thing for anybody, any age, to deal with. But by any means, the younger you are, the harder it is for your mind to be wrapped around it. So, of course, as this day continues for, again, what would have been her 14th birthday, I have no doubt this vigil is going to grow. But hopefully, as this grows, maybe a little bit of healing is going to continue. We'll stay here, of course, for the morning. East Toledo, Tatiana, WTOL 11.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Inside the Dark. Take care, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, where I'll be waiting to take you back inside the dark.